I believe the best way to have a year that we love is to create it. So today I'm going to walk through a very simple process with self-care, relationships, and tangible outcomes so that we can all create the next year and feel really excited about what's to come. For self-care, I like to ask the question, how do I want my spirit, my mind, and my body to feel throughout the year and at the end of the year? I used to just ask what I wanted by the end. So then it meant I had to accomplish something or reach a specific goal. And if I didn't do that by the end of the year, I had totally failed. But instead, by thinking, well, how do I actually want to feel throughout the year? I want to feel connected to my higher power. I want to wake up excited and go to bed content. I want to be emotionally really solid and healthy. And I want to be able to have that perspective all year where I give myself grace and I feel joyful with where I am moving forward. And I'm learning from the things that are hard, right? And with my body, I want to be able to wake up feeling energetic. I want to get the rest I need. I want to feel nourished. I want to be able to get enough rest and just feel happy generally during the day. Of course, moving my body and eating foods that are nutritious, but not getting down on myself if the scale says something or if I don't have, I don't know, perfect skin or whatever. And so by just asking the question, how do I want to feel in these areas throughout the whole year? That sets us up for success. I did this last year for the first time, this specific framework. It was the best year. It was amazing. So I'm excited for you to try it too. The next part of creating our year is thinking about relationships because really it's the people in our lives that matter. And at the end of our lives, it's those relationships and the experiences that we have together that are going to mean the most to us. So the way I like to look at it is I list each relationship and then I create kind of an outcome. What do I want it to look like? What's that, perfect picture? What's that ideal that's going to exist with that relationship? And then what are the routines or activities that will facilitate that? So I'll just give you an example. My, most important relationships is my husband Eric, and so I will say, okay, spouse Eric, that's the relationship. What's the outcome I want for this year? Where I want us to feel closer than we've ever felt before. I want us to be able to really understand each other, to be able to work in harmony using our individual talents, and really be able to encourage each other and become more and more in love over the next year. So I'd write that all out as my outcome. And then the question is, well, if I want that kind of outcome with Eric, what are the routines and activities that would facilitate that? So making sure we have enough time together and maybe a few getaways that we plan. Maybe it's having a little bit more focused time together in the mornings and not just being so rushed. Or maybe it's working on a specific project together that we've been dreaming about and then creating that. Or maybe I could come up with some really special things that I prepare for him, little surprises and things throughout the year that would just make him happier. And so if I know these are the types of things that will help us to become closer, have that experience, and be able to invest in him, now that gives me something tangible to work with as I move forward planning my year. So we can do the same thing if we have children, if we have best friends, neighbors, extended family. And you don't want to go overboard and feel like you have to be all things to all people. But last year when I did this, just going through the process of thinking through how I want to feel around my loved ones. And in fact, just one quick story, I felt like I wasn't spending enough time with friends because I do a lot with my family and I do a lot with Learn to Become, but I didn't really have a lot of friends, especially girlfriends, to hang out with. So I started actually planning events with my neighbors, with my sister. I had a friend come visit. We went hiking together. I did a girls' weekend and really invested in those friendships, and it's been amazing. So I just want to encourage you, if you feel maybe like your relationships are strained or you don't have all the close relationships you would like, take some time to go through this. And we actually have a template we'll link at the end, but it's going to make a big difference. All right, the final part of creating our year is looking at tangible outcomes. And so, first of all, I like to create a little chart and say, what's a specific outcome that I want? Whether it's like we're going to finish a home project, I'm going to do a specific initiative in our business, I'm going to run a community event. What is it? What are some things? Or I want to finish reading this many books or whatever it is. Okay, so I can write down what my tangible outcomes are, and hopefully you can do the same thing. But then I love to ask the question, what is the, aspirational level? Like if this turned out amazing, what's that highest level? And then what's the minimum level that would totally be fine as well? And the reason this is important, there's a book called How to Be Miserable that actually is full of amazing ideas. And they said the problem is we often set these goals, these aspirational goals, and then, if we don't hit them, we feel like we're failing. So instead, you create this minimum and maximum, and you say, okay, the minimum this, the maximum that. That way, you're giving yourself a lot of leeway. So, just an example, we have a backyard that's kind of been sitting the same since we moved into our home about 6 years ago. So I would say, okay, I'd love to have our backyard a great place where we can all retreat and enjoy spending time together. So that maximum, the aspirational level would be we're going to move a fence, we're going to really make the garden amazing, we're going to redo a little fire pit area, we're going to add a new deck, we're going to have a little place where you can shoot baskets, right? And it's going to be this amazing backyard with flowers and trees, and it's just going to look gorgeous. So that's kind of the aspirational level. But also, I want to recognize that it can still be a retreat, even if we don't have all of that done. So I could say the minimum level is we just keep it really clean. We keep it free of weeds. We maybe get a few more outdoor toys, make sure the chairs out there are clean, and we can use what we have well. So that's my minimum. What feels great about that is I can 100% do the minimum. That's all within my control. And even if life gets crazy, I can still do that. And then the aspirational level gives us something to work towards, but it's okay if, let's say someone is sick or a family member needs a little more care or an unexpected opportunity comes up and you want to redirect your attention. I mean, everything on here is negotiable, but what's so exciting is when you can create your year and at least think through these things. I just found that by doing this last year, everything that I was excited about ended up happening in a really beautiful way. And I'm closing out the year feeling just really content. And not everything went ideally, and there were some things that were unexpected, but I was able to create my year, and I'm going to go ahead and do it again. And because one more part of creating our year is actually using a calendar, Eric's going to show us how he uses this year to glance. Eric and I both use a Google Calendar that's shared, so for the day-to-day things, that's all put on our phones, but for the bigger things, Eric got this.
I like the supersized annual calendar. So I'll just walk you through a few ways we use it. We've been using this calendar for about 8 or 9 years, actually. I actually have all the past ones hanging up in my office, stacked on top of each other, right? Just a little bit above each other. So I can go back and look, and it's actually a great historical reference, to see what we've done, like kind of go back and look for details, but also to see what we've done, right? To look back and say, wow, we've worked on some things that have worked out pretty well. But I actually love to take the Thanksgiving holiday and the Christmas holidays here in the US and actually have some of that time to look at the new year. Okay, so to start, I actually have a few color codes that are down here. You can't really see what the details are, but I actually like to write on this with Sharpies so they don't smear at all. Like you can literally just move around. Now people are like, Sharpies, how does that work? But if you have like this laminated version, if you take a dry erase marker, you can actually draw over stuff you've Sharpied and then just Kleenex it off and it comes off. So then you can use this calendar, move around, whatever you need to do. Okay. So I actually have about 6 categories of different types of things that we set up. And Grace asked, which is my favorite color of pen? Blue. I bet you didn't know that. But I have a category for personal, couple, family, service, and church type stuff we do with Learn to Become, some charitable work we might do, and then things that are part of conferences, projects, or other things like that.
So you keep this here all year so that if you want to reference what
so I write it at the bottom, like, and sometimes legend? At the top, it's my legend to remind me as I'm working through stuff. But then I try to keep it that way so you can just kind of see how some of your time and things are being balanced out. So I've already got 2 kind of categories already on the next year with dates that I know. It's mostly conferences and also some service and church stuff that we've got planned. April asked about the little post-it notes. I like to do that if it's still kind of tentative, the dates are still moving. Okay. So we have a couple of trips or activities kind of in the beginning of the year. We're not quite sure, we haven't final calendared it, but this allows you to kind of see the big rocks, where things are happening, so you don't overwhelm yourself or overload yourself in a given year or a quarter, and it allows you to kind of spread it out. Then like April said, as we come together to actually do our weekly planning, we kind of plan about 10 days out on a given day. Going past, we usually do it a Friday, we jump out to the next Sunday, so basically 9 or 10 days. But then we can actually look at this and make sure these things are then pulled into our digital calendar that we're kind of working off of day to day. But this gives you just a really good feel for what's happening, what's coming up in the year.
I think the time that this made the biggest difference for me was when we were moving. And so we had so many things that were happening and so many moving parts. And our children were going to summer camps where we were and then where we were going. And we had a family trip and we had all these classes we were teaching. And so we would look at this all the time.
Well, but the goal is not to fill up the calendar, right?
Yeah.
So if it's particularly busy
when it's
period
busy,
of time,
it's super helpful. Yeah.
and having like, we have a monthly calendar over here in our kitchen that April puts a couple of fun things, or like our son's work schedule. So I would say just pick a calendar or two. We love digitals for the daily, a little wall calendar for like the monthly, just a few things here and there. And then I love this annual calendar to kind of see like the big items that do need to be thought about and kind of planned and structured around. So I don't know. Hope that's helpful to you. It's been helpful to us.
We hope that you're feeling excited about planning your year and creating your year, whether it's using a big calendar or your digital calendar, or thinking through self-care, relationships, and tangible outcomes. We also have a really fun download for you. So we'll have a link in the description, but we have a whole Create Your Year template with instructions and podcasts. And we also show you how to create your month, week, and day. So a lot of fun. So you can just click the link in the description to get that. And we're so glad you're here with us at Learn, Do, Become.